Crude oil is becoming interesting here after a correction over the last couple of months. Welcome to My Finance Teacher. The last time we looked at oil here on YouTube was on 20th of May around this circle over here. And we were expecting crude oil to come down over a couple of months. Gotta admit that there was a bit of a pump up in price first before that expected correction down took place. And is it time to buy yet? Well, let's have a look at the cycles first. Let's zoom out. The way I look at the cycles, at least since the beginning of 2017, is that every new cycle rally has broken above the 50-day moving average. And with every new cycle rally, RSI broke above the neutral level, which is 50, and has risen by well over 30 points. Conversely, with every cycle drop, the crude oil price has either broken below the 50-day moving average or seriously has retested that 50-day moving average, and RSI as well broke below the neutral level and dropped by at least 30 points. So based on this criteria, I see 10 crude oil cycles between mid-2017 and late 2021. On average, these cycles last for around 163 days, with the shortest one actually in late 2021 lasting for 104 days, and the longest one lasting for 233 days. So the range in the duration is quite high. Now, zooming in, I think a buying opportunity in crude oil might be coming up relatively soon. Looking at RSI, for example, we already see some positive divergence where price is showing lower lows with RSI showing higher lows. That's usually a precursor to a bit of a reversal from a downward trend into an uptrend. We're also seeing crude oil price poke several times below Bollinger Bands, which weren't that narrow. And again, this is also a bit of a signal before a likely trend reversal. But on the other hand, though, continuing with the technicals, crude oil has lost the 200-day moving average and might only be retesting that 200-day moving average before continuing lower, perhaps into late August. In either case, even if that does happen, I think anywhere within August we are going to see a relatively significant low on crude oil and a bit of a rally into a new cycle. Coming back to cycles though, I am a little bit confused by the ongoing cycle in crude oil. And my main question is whether we count this 11th of April as a cycle low, and do we count a new cycle since then or not, as the correction down wasn't as significant. We have seen crude oil price poke below the 50-day moving average, and the RSI has also broken below the neutral level and has also dropped by over 30 points. But that would lead to a relatively short cycle of 130 days, following the shortest cycle since mid-2017 of only 104 days. And the cycles before that weren't extraordinarily long either, so it's not extremely likely to have a lot of short cycles following each other. Usually a couple of short cycles are followed by a longer cycle to balance out the average duration. So to be frank with you, due to this correction being relatively mild, I'm still not sure how to count the ongoing cycle, whether it started all the way over here in December last year, or it started in April, giving us a cycle of either a record length of around 246 days if we've already seen the cycle low on the 5th of August. That would already be a longest cycle since mid-2017, which might be okay following the shortest cycle, again to balance out the duration. Or do we need to count the ongoing cycle starting from 11th of April, which gives us the duration of only 116 days with the recent low, up to today, that gives us a duration of only 120 days, meaning that perhaps there will be some more softness in crude oil sometime into later August, giving us a slightly closer to an average cycle duration of 135 days. I'm going to take some time to ponder about this 11th of April low. Was it actually the end of the previous cycle and the beginning of a new cycle? Let's see about that. In either case though, I think some sort of a buying opportunity is coming up in crude oil sometime in August. Interesting, looking at seasonality, usually in August crude oil does produce some sort of a low, so seasonality agrees with a buying opportunity coming up sometime over the next couple of weeks, both on the 10-year seasonality going back to 2012, and as I often like to look at relatively more recent seasonality going back to 2015 as well. We see similar seasonal lows around August. And lastly, looking at the Optimism Index in crude oil, it does seem that in April this year, we might have actually seen the cycle low starting a new cycle since then. We see Optimism Index bottoming around 45, which has been the level for usual cycle lows since early last year. We've also seen a significant bounce in the Optimism Index after that, up into the red line around 60. So perhaps we have actually started a new cycle in April, meaning that the ongoing cycle is still relatively short, perhaps another few weeks, perhaps another couple of weeks into that usual seasonal low in late August might actually give us that intermediate cycle low on crude oil, giving us a bit of a buying opportunity. And another factor supporting a bit of a weakness in crude oil, perhaps over the next couple of weeks, is that the general stock market, let's have a look at S&P 500, is likely to correct down into the short-term daily cycle low, perhaps over the next couple of weeks as well. The ongoing short-term daily cycle is not very long yet, but it's getting there at 52 days at the moment. Looking at XLE, the energy producers, talking about that cycle again, in April we haven't really seen significant weakness in XLE. There was a bit of a drop, but it was relatively short-lived. Currently XLE is bouncing between this 200-day and 50-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is sloping downwards. Again, as the general stock market might actually soften up a little bit over the next couple of weeks, perhaps there will be another retest of this 200-day moving average by XLE, which might produce that buying opportunity. But as I usually say, what do I know? The only thing that I know is that nobody knows the future. So I do wonder about your opinion on energy. Let us know down in the comments below. Remember to hit that like button as well, and of course, share the video with your friends. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.